Welcome back to Sustained Overruled. I am the anonymous attorney. Yesterday, I attempted to pre record a video. That format does not work for me just because it takes me a significant amount of time to edit. So for now, I am going to stick to the live streams until I actually figure out this platform and how it works. Other than that, I would like to give my insights on day 157 of the YSL trial. I've not watched the trial in its entirety because I had to leave the office for a little bit, but I've watched a good bit of it. I've watched the trial all week actually. I just did not get a chance to um, get on here. But let us jump right into it. I thought this was um, so far, with just two defendants, the trial has been running much smoother than when it was a host of defendants. And they've just been, running through witnesses. But I'm going to skip around and jump around. I wish they had a clock on the screen, but there's no clock. So I'll try and find these specific timestamps as I go on. Oh, and I'm not trying to get into gossip or anything, but I came on here. I mean, my algorithm is all the way off, all the way off. Um, about sometime last week, I saw a video for. It was recommended. I believe the attorney's name is Kayla Bumpus. It was her and Woody. I did not get the chance to watch the video, and then suddenly today, part of the algorithm, YouTube is recommending gossip. Something about Kayla Bumpus being married to Shannon. I don't know how true that is, but that's what's circulating. I'm not trying to get into rumors, but I'm kind of nosy. All right, so let's get into this. Hold one moment. Let's see. I'm going to try and get to the right spot. And then I would like to hear from, as I previously stated, I'd like to hear from the Melody Fears juror. Hopefully, I'm able to do that tomorrow. But I'll try to get as far as I can on this YSL trial, and I'm just going to skip through, jump around. The very first portion of this trial was important because I'm a little biased because I actually really, really like Shardt. I think he's the sharpest out of all the, I wanted to say criminal defense attorneys, but really out of all the attorneys in the courtroom.
Good morning.
Very sharp.
Be seated.
So if my time is correct, this is going to be around
We have all the jurors
9:01.
or not, I haven't checked yet, but anything we need to put on the record before we get the jury out?
Okay, here we
Your
go.
Honor, good morning.
Good morning.
My understanding is that Mr. Sumlin is on the state's agenda this morning at some point.
He's back on today, Your Honor. Okay.
Is he coming at all?
Yep, yes, he's coming. Next week? Yeah.
So, in preparation of him coming today, I reviewed his statement that he gave to Investigator Viverito and other law enforcement investigator J.P. Miller. And my understanding is the state is going to ask him questions based on things that he has personal knowledge
For some
of,
reason, I
and
thought that love
I
was
understand
removed
that
from
that's
the
out there
case.
for potential impeachment. My concern, and I'm just making sure we're on the same page. Investigator Viverito asked him to speculate about a lot of things, why certain things would have happened. He makes it clear that he was locked up during the Donovan Thomas murder. He knows nothing about it. He also makes it clear that he does not know about the Shmuel Drinks murder, and he's just, kind of speculating about why this would happen. There's a lot of talk. How much would Jeffrey have paid them? Why, the hypotheticals. Why would Shannon have done this? And the reality is, Mr. Sumlin has no firsthand knowledge of who did what. He's just kind
No
of going
personal
off the cuff
knowledge.
in this interview. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that none of that is, nothing that he is speculating or just kind of hypothesizing about, that he does not have first-hand knowledge of, will be inquired about.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning.
We will be making
Love is back.
inquiries into, we will be laying proper foundations, and we will be making inquiries into areas that we believe he has knowledge of. If we will not improperly ask a question that we've not laid a foundation for him having knowledge of. That's what we can say. I don't think it's proper for counsel for the defense to attempt to curtail our direct
Now,
examination.
that part
based
I
on what
actually
he
agree with her
believes
on.
a witness has knowledge of.
Okay, well, I don't mean to curtail anything, but if the state brings out things that he does not have first-hand knowledge of and it's improper, I'm going to be moving for a mistrial with prejudice.
He's
And
on
we all know
fire.
that now.
Yeah, okay.
He's
So
fed up.
I would think that, y'all, do I have I don't know if I've got a copy of the
So
interview
this
or
is
not.
around
but
9:05
Y'all
a.m.
could
Eastern
get
time.
together and see if you all can agree on what's clearly not within his knowledge and what might be, and then we could potentially litigate that beforehand on Friday.
We could do that. We could,
You do have a copy of it, Your Honor, it's in that 30 witness.
Okay.
and Your Honor, we could definitely get together and talk about things that we believe, or one party believes he does or does not have direct knowledge of. But again, given the way that the interviews have gone and the examinations have gone, I don't, again, think it's proper to prematurely try and curtail certain things. I believe
It
that.
is absolutely proper to try to make an evidentiary determination beforehand on things that would be objectionable.
I don't disagree with what the court is saying. I'm saying
Right.
that if we seek to, or we establish a foundation for his knowledge of certain things that the defense does not believe he has knowledge of, I believe that curtailing our ability to make that foundation would not,
I don't think that's what he's asking.
well, that's not what he's asking.
All right, and then Weinstein's going to come up.
So those folders, they were in like buckets of 30. Which one am I supposed to be looking at? I thought we had litigated everything there was to litigate about
We did.
someone.
I'm just waiting
But
for
keep going back to that day
Weinstein to come
that
up.
we
That is
ran out of time,
around.
and I was
Let me
litigating
see,
a lot that day, but there was a
9:08
couple
a.m.
things left
Eastern
on the
time.
table, and we were going to get back to it, and then
Okay, well, I guess.
everything sped up, and
I guess that'll be Friday then.
All right,
All right.
we're in for a show.
Anything else?
Seeing this is when
Do you
Weinstein
know whether we
addresses
have all
the
the
court.
jurors? Not yet.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't want to hold court up for the day, so I was going to bring it up at the end of the day, but if we're waiting on the jurors, I'll
Okay.
just raise it now. They're continuing to wake my client up at 5 a.m. in the morning. He's exhausted. He has trouble participating in his defense in that state. I would just, once again, I know you said something once, the
This
election.
had me really confused.
Thankfully was over yesterday. So maybe if
Not
that,
sure what the election has to
well, I
do.
thought
Right.
that was the reason that the jail was short-staffed. But anyway,
Oh, okay, I got you.
if that's the reason they're waking up at 5 a.m., that's over. So if they could get back to what they were doing prior to the
Yeah,
brief recess
I
we
know,
had last.
I hate to be this type of person, but a lot of the defense attorneys in this case have been very whiny. In any event, so we're gonna move into, or we're gonna begin with the first
What time
witness
does he get to
very
go to
shortly
bed?
here.
I mean, he can go to bed early.
I don't know.
I'm not saying I want him to keep having to be woken up at 5, but I
Right.
would suggest that maybe he try to get his sleep in as soon as he gets back after he has his evening meal.
I understand, but for some reason, since the pleading out of the other defendants, there's been some kind of shift. And if that,
Let's find the first witness. Okay, the first witness is on the stand. This is, I believe her name is Sarah Van Home. She works for the GBI. She's a firearms examiner. Her testimony to me, I mean, her testimony definitely important for the prosecution, but I don't think it's worth really listening to unless it's not worth listening to because we're short on time. But I thought that the cross by Shardt was actually really good, but because he went straight to the point. So that's where I'm gonna try and jump to. Hopefully, I'm able to find the timestamp. This was actually really quick. So let's find him. Is this an ad?
Burnout.
I'm doing
We
a
all
lot of,
experience it at some point. It's so important to me that I've
ignorance.
actually
I'm
been
gonna
working
have
on it in
a lot of
therapy.
ads, I suppose.
For comparisons, it may impact it because if a barrel is switched out, obviously we're looking at the markings on the actual projectiles themselves.
let's see.
For NIBIN is the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. That has to do
This
with
was a really
cartridge
quick
cases only.
testimony.
So we're not looking at projectiles for that. So switching out a barrel isn't as pertinent as it would be maybe a slide.
Thank you so much. I have no further questions.
All right, so we're going to Shardt.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Max Shardt. I represent Shannon Stillwell.
And as I previously said, I am biased in favor of Shardt because of all the attorneys in this case. He's by far the sharpest.
I just have a couple questions. It seems that you're telling us that there's components from 2 different firearms on this gun.
Yes.
Okay. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what caliber bullets or projectiles does this gun, as is, fire?
I thought
9 millimeter.
This was a
Okay,
brilliant
fires
question.
9mm. All right. Do you have any evidence that this gun has been used in any crimes on record?
I do not.
Okay. Do you have any evidence that this firearm has ever been fired by Shannon Stillwell?
I do not.
Do you have any evidence at all that Shannon Stillwell has ever been in possession of this firearm that you tested?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Bravo. Short and sweet. And then Weinstein's going to copy him. Oh, I personally do not think that Weinstein is an effective cross-examiner. I mean, here he actually does better because he just copies exactly what Shardt did. But in earlier parts of this trial, I thought he was not good at cross-examining witnesses.
good
He
morning.
asked a
I'm
lot of
Doug Weinstein. I
irrelevant
represent
questions.
Diamante Kendrick.
Good morning.
I have some similar questions to Mr. Sharp. Do you have any evidence that Mr. Kendrick ever fired this firearm?
I do not.
Do you have any evidence that Mr. Kendrick was ever in possession of this firearm?
I do not.
Do you know who modified this firearm to put the switch on the firearm?
I do not.
And do you know who may have modified the firearm so that it has a barrel that is inconsistent with the frame?
I do not know.
Okay, no
Very
further
good.
questions. Thank you.
Bravo.
Redirect.
Bravo.
The questions that were just asked of you, would you have any way to know any of those answers, given your work at the GBI?
I would not.
I thought that was brilliant
No further.
redirect by Hilton.
Who can give us those answers?
I do not know.
All right. I look forward to hearing from them.
Yeah, but Shardt is a brilliant. He is very, very sharp. By far the greatest attorney or criminal defense attorney that they have in this case.
You are excused. State, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Brian Shea to the stand.
Okay. All right, so this witness I'm gonna skip through until we get to his demonstration of a video. He was right. The next one, let me see. I never got his name, but he is a Gwinnett County police officer. Prior to that, he worked for the Fulton County DA's office as an investigator. This was around the 9:30 mark Eastern time. So in 5 minutes, they are gonna go to the sidebar. Okay, I think this is it. It's gonna be sidebar. I don't want to go too far. Okay, here we go.
Whiskey 105.
And the reason I'm stopping here is because Hilton was about to make a really critical mistake in this case, but Love was out there to help her out.
6-round magazine.
And what do you say there?
I said empty magazine, empty chamber again.
And did that conclude your?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back just a little bit. Hopefully it's not too far before I make my point. I think it's over here. Okay. Let's go a bit further.
Sure, son. And before we play it, just where are you when you do the test fire?
The Fulton County Training Center on their range.
And which gun do you test fire first?
So it starts off with my actual duty weapon. That is the same make and model.
All right, so the
as
control.
the state's exhibit, and mine is a semi-automatic pistol, functioning as a semi-automatic pistol. Black model 45.
All right, so this is the control that he's about to fire.
Serial number is Bravo Tom Uncle George 256. Empty chamber.
All right, come on, officer.
6-round magazine loaded into duty weapon. Range is hot.
All right. Then he moves on to the
What
test.
did you say there?
I said empty magazine, and I showed an empty chamber, that there are no more rounds inside the pistol. 6 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So this is the test.
Serial number Baker Paul Henry Whiskey 105. Six-round magazine.
Okay. It's completely empty.
And what do you say there?
I said empty magazine, empty chamber again.
And did that conclude your demonstration video?
It did.
Court's indulgence for a moment.
All right, so this is where Hilton was about to mess up because she obviously, I mean, for the viewer and probably for the jury, they're able to see what this test or the test fire was about. But on the record, as it's transcribed, there's no indication as to what was actually observed. So I thought that was a critical mistake that she was making, but Love was there to guide her. Because they obviously called him to show that a single pull of the trigger could fire 6 rounds. And she didn't elicit that from the witness.
When you shot the automatic weapon, did it fire 6 rounds with one trigger pull?
It did.
All right, so there we go.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any cross of this witness?
There's no need for crossover here. So we're gonna move on to the next witness. I believe her name is Raven Williams. There she is. I believe that's her approaching the stand. And the direct in this, I don't know, this was, they were not very effective. Hilton was not very effective with this direct examination. And I'm torn as to whether she was a critical witness to the state's case. I mean, there's no dispute that Shamel Drinks was in fact alive and that he was a human being prior to being gunned down. But the questions that Hilton was asking her were, I don't know, they added no value to the case. The only portion that might have been relevant is who was in maybe the identity of the person that, I wouldn't say visiting, but the person that was at their home. I did not actually catch the name. So. Yeah, but the questions that they start off with, no.
Raven Williams, RAVEN WILLIAMS.
And good morning, Ms. Williams. How are you?
Good morning, I'm fine.
How old are you?
36.
And do you work?
Yeah.
What type of work do you do?
Home health care.
Okay. And are you from Atlanta?
Basically, yeah.
When you say basic, what do you mean?
I was raised in Augusta.
Moretta said that's not
And how long
Atlanta.
have you been in the Atlanta area?
About 16 years.
And do you know someone by the name of Shamel Drinks?
Yes.
And how do you know Shamel?
I've been knowing him since Augusta.
Were you both raised together in Augusta?
We wasn't raised together, but we were around each other a lot.
And are you familiar with his family?
Yes.
Does he have siblings?
Do you know his mother?
Yes.
All right. And what's her name?
Sandra.
And does he have siblings?
Yes.
How many?
Yeah. All these questions that Hilton was asking were completely unnecessary. Typically, an attorney, whether it's defense or prosecution, they start off asking preliminary basic questions, and that's to get a witness comfortable. But her questions added zero value to the case. In order to make this witness, in my opinion, okay, in order to make this witness comfortable, if she was in fact going to ask all these preliminary questions, would have been to ask more about the witness. Where did you go to school? Things of that nature. I mean, she did ask a bit about her job, but if that's what she wanted to do, if she wanted to make the witness comfortable, she should have had the witness talk about herself a little bit.
Mm, 4.
And did he have children?
No.
Did Sharmell have a
What's the point
nickname?
of asking that
Yes.
What was his nickname?
question?
Peanut.
And is that a nickname you called him when y'all were back in Augusta?
Yes.
Initially, when she started questioning this witness, because I was trying to figure out who the witness is, I was like, okay, is this a family friend? What's going on? Hilton should have just gotten to the point that this was Shamel's girlfriend, but she's asking about a host of other
Now, I know you
things.
said that you all grew up together or were around each other in Augusta. Do you know if he was born in Augusta?
Yes. No, I think he was born in Atlanta, I think.
Or was he raised in Augusta?
Some partially. That was back and forth.
When they were back and forth, is that between Augusta and Atlanta?
Yes.
Do you know where in Atlanta he would stay when they were in Atlanta?
I'm not sure when he was staying with his mom, but at the time of death, he was living with me.
Back in 2022, did you ever know him to hang out in the Summerhill neighborhood?
Yeah, I think so.
What about in Mechanicsville?
Woody's
I guess that's what you call
neighborhood.
it. I'm assuming.
I want to direct your attention to March 14th, 2022. Did you have the occasion to see Shamel drinks on that day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where were you when you saw him?
Home
At the time, where were you living?
in Douglasville.
If you were coming from downtown, how would you get to your home?
20 West.
Yes, path traveled,
Sitting here today, do you remember what
the
time
route.
he came to your house, or was he at your house all day?
I don't remember the time verbatim. I just know when I got there, it's like it was almost time to get my daughter from gymnastics, and that's normally like I want to say like 6 something, but I just can't remember verbatim. But like around that time frame, I believe.
And we say 6 something, that's 6 something p.m.?
Yeah.
Was he already at your home when you were getting ready to maybe get your daughter from gymnastics?
Yes.
Was he at your home with anyone?
Yes.
All
Do
right.
you know who?
A boy named Barter.
Okay, so I thought this was probably the only, I mean, that's if they're going to connect all these dots, right? If they're going to connect this boy named Broder to YSL or the 2 defendants that are on trial, then her testimony is relevant. Other than that, everything else she said, I just thought, I don't know, didn't really add value to their case.
Had you ever met that individual, Barter, before?
No.
Do you know if Barter was a nickname or his given name?
I'm not sure.
When you were home, let me ask, did you get home and he was already there with Barter, or did he come to your house and you let him in and he came with Barter?
I kind of think that it was kind of like
Okay,
at
my
the
notes
same
here.
time, or like a few minutes off. I think he had pulled up and then they were in the car. And then when I pulled up, he started coming into the house.
Did both he and Barter come inside of the house?
He was coming in first with me, telling me who it was. And then the guy was coming up.
Now, I think I may have asked you this, but I'll ask you again. Had you ever seen Barter before?
No.
Had you ever heard Sharmell talk about barter?
No.
Did you all have plans for that evening?
Yes.
What were they?
Okay, that's
I
relevant.
was getting ready to cook dinner, so he was coming back home to eat
That
and
is
chill with
relevant to
me
show he
and my
never
daughter.
came back.
And let me ask you, at the time, were y'all two dating?
Yes.
Girl, you should have asked that at the very beginning.
Did he stay at the house
That night?
that night?
No, he never
I never
returned.
made it home. What's going on here? All right, hold on. Never forget airplane goes.
You said you had to get your daughter maybe around 6:00 p.m. What time did he leave your house?
I'm not sure.
Was it before you left to get your daughter or after you left to get your daughter?
He left just a couple of minutes.
She kind of sounds like Moon Tung's ex-girlfriend. I never got a name, but they do sound the same.
Before me.
Did you know where he was going?
He told me that he was running to the city and that he was dropping Barter off and then he was coming back.
Okay, so Barter was in the car. Is that what they're saying? Guess I missed that when she testified.
Was there anything
When I first listened
that
to
you
this
saw or
testimony.
observed that kind of triggered him leaving?
Kind of, but not really. I mean, I guess like the boy kept like just trying to insert himself like, oh, you cooking? I'm staying too. Can I stay? And like he was, my niece was there. So he was trying to like court my niece or whatever. And so I want to say the phone rang, if I remember correctly. And that's how he just ended up go ahead and leaving.
Do you know whose phone rang? Okay. When he left, did he leave with Barter?
Yes.
All right, so this is the most relevant portion of her
Did
testimony.
he ever make it back home?
No.
No.
Did you at some point learn about his death?
Yes.
All right. Permission to approach your mom?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 123 VV. Do you recognize the individual in 123 VV?
Yes.
How do you recognize him?
That's Shamel.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how Shamel looked prior to his death?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit 123 VV into evidence.
It's admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Okay, so Raven was only on the stand for about 10 minutes.
And is that Mr. Drinks?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Any questions for this witness?
All right, so defense did not cross Raven Williams. I mean, she really, as I said, she did not add much value to the state's case. Now, this next witness, Phil Norton, I don't know, I have no idea where the prosecution got this witness from, but yeah, he is a gun owner. I mean, obviously his testimony is relevant because the firearm, the automatic firearm that was recovered or found in the possession of one of these two defendants, it's a firearm that he previously owned, if I remember the testimony correctly. So he was, I guess the prosecution had to call him, but his demeanor was not very friendly towards them. So yeah, I have no idea where they got him from, but he's here, so we're gonna listen to him. It also sounded as if the DA's office did not prep this witness Or I don't know, maybe he just did not want to be in court. That's another possibility. Nobody wants to be dragged into court, especially not in a case like this. And he's a YouTube firearms expert.
Phil Norton, PhilNorton.
Good morning, Mr. Norton. How are you?
Good.
Good. Mr. Norton, would you tell the jury, are you a gun owner?
Yes,
How long have you owned guns, firearms?
my entire life.
What type of guns have you owned throughout your lifetime?
Couldn't tell you.
Have you ever owned a Glock 9mm weapon?
Yes.
All right. Now, when you purchase your firearms or when you obtain your firearms, where is it that you ordinarily get your firearms from?
Various
and he's gonna
places. I make
educate
holsters
Love
for a
too.
living, so I come across a lot of guns.
You make what for?
Holsters for guns.
Okay. And you said, so you come across a lot of guns?
I do gun shows almost every weekend,
All right. And where do you do your gun shows?
all over the place.
During your gun shows, do you buy guns from people or do you just sell them?
Everything, it changes every day. It's almost like a pawn shop.
Okay. All right. And do you
There's a
have-
lot of trading going on, selling, buying, not necessarily just guns, everything.
Okay. Including
Ammo,
your
optics, holsters, bags, everything in the industry.
Okay. Do you have to comply with any federal regulations at those gun shows?
Nope.
If you buy from an FFL agent, yes. If
Otherwise
you buy
not.
from a FFL holder, yes.
And what is an FFL holder?
Federal firearms license.
All right. Now, when you say if you buy from an FFL holder, you have to comply with federal regulations. During those
Okay.
exchanges and during those sales and transactions that take place at the gun shows that you attend, are you either buying from FFL holders or are you an FFL holder?
No.
So there's no restrictions to
This
the
is
way
way
that you sell and
Love.
If you're a
purchase guns?
private owner or a private seller, under the Constitution, you can buy and sell guns. You don't have to have an FFL license.
Okay,
Just like if you were my neighbor and I sold you a gun.
okay.
I don't know if you know that or not.
I do not, because you just told me.
Yeah.
So when you purchase a firearm from someone, is there any kind of record or do you keep any kind of record of the types of
Not
firearms?
unless it's an FFL agent, no. Unless, if it's an so in other words, if I go to Academy Sports, there's paperwork filled out.
Okay.
If it's a private sale, no.
Now, you said you've owned guns all of
Right.
your life?
I think the reason why the answers were not effective as I would have liked, it's because the questioning was not as effective. This witness is part of the prosecution's case because he is a previous gun owner of the gun that was recovered, right? But they were asking him questions as if he is some type of expert, which he's not. And that explains some of his responses.
Or at least you've
Mhm.
had
Yes, ma'am.
access to firearms. So is it safe to say that you're pretty familiar with firearms and how they work?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the types of gun that you've owned, have they all been semi-automatic? Have they sometimes been revolvers, pistols, a whole range of guns?
That's the thing. She should have focused on the 9mm, and not she's asking very broad questions when the questions should really be tailored to this specific case because this guy is no expert.
Yes.
Yes, to which question, since I asked a
All of
compound
them.
one? Okay.
Love, you asked him a compound question.
Have you ever owned an automatic weapon?
No.
Have you ever handled an automatic weapon?
No.
Do you know what an automatic weapon does?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
Because this is my business.
Oh,
Fair
I
enough.
thought this was the question.
And so is it safe to say you make it your business to do that type of research, or you've seen it in action?
It's 2024. If you can't see that on YouTube, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I know where they
It's
got
very
that
acceptable
from.
knowledge. Everybody has it.
All right. And what about the way that a gun is made or transitioned from a semi-automatic to an automatic weapon? Are you familiar with that as well?
No, not how
The
to do
YouTube
it.
firearms
Not how
expert.
to do it?
Mm-mm.
Are you familiar with the mechanism that causes a gun to go from semi-automatic to automatic?
Which one?
The switch.
I am familiar with it.
All right. Have you ever purchased a switch?
No. I've only seen it on TV or YouTube, I would say.
Okay.
That was a YouTube guy.
Now I'm going to show you what we have marked as states 51XX alpha. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
This case to me was pretty quick as well. It was
Now, are
pretty
you
much
able
10
to
minutes, maybe
recognize
less.
the firearm that is in this box?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you ever owned the firearm that is?
What's crazy to me in this case is how none of the prosecutors, I don't remember about defense, like they don't wear gloves. They're just out here touching the evidence and everything.
In this box.
According to
Their bare
why
hands.
I'm here, yes.
Now, would you explain what you mean when you say according to why you're here?
I believe I purchased this off of a law enforcement agent, and then I traded it at some point.
Okay.
What I've been told, and I believe when I was talked about it, yeah.
And does this appear to be the firearm that you purchased from that?
Not anymore, now with that switch on it.
Okay. Do you see the switch on it that you're talking about?
I do, I know what they are.
Okay.
I've never seen one. I've only seen it on YouTube.
All right. Point two.
That's it, right?
Is it okay if I hold it up, Judge?
Yes,
All
it's locked, right?
Yes,
It is, Judge.
That would be
it's right there. in the
crazy
back.
as hell.
So this little part right here?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And so
That would have
somehow
been a
that
hot
makes it
mess.
so you just pull the trigger once.
Okay. And what is your
Liability.
understanding of when you say you pull the trigger once, somehow that
It
makes
just,
it?
it empties it. It just, you don't have to pull it again.
Okay. And given
You
your
can tell love
experience
has been
with
before
firearms,
juries
is
before.
there any particular reason that you never purchased a switch or utilized?
It's a felony and illegal, be a good reason. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know where they got this
Thank
guy
you,
from.
sir.
Yeah.
And the last time that you owned this weapon, it did not have that switch attachment on it.
It didn't come from the officer like that, and it didn't leave me like that.
Do you remember what you did? Did you sell it at one of your gun shows?
I really don't. I tried to recall. It was quite a while after. I don't know if I traded it or sold it, or I really don't remember.
Okay.
I probably traded it because you can usually trade in it more value.
All right.
And when you say traded it, would it have been at a gun show or at a pawn shop?
No, at a gun show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, there's not records that are kept of who you would have traded it to.
No, ma'am.
And then once you traded it, you kept no contact with the buyer of the firearm to know what they did with it.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Is this the end? I thought the cross was really good. Let's see, are we there yet?
Now,
And that's the crazy part. They actually have gloves right there, but I guess they just not
is it?
wear
I'm
them.
sorry. I'm gonna let him make that like it should be. Is it safe to say, or I should ask you, do you even know a person by the name of Shannon Stillwell or Shannon Jackson?
No, ma'am.
Do you even know a person by the name of Diamante Kendrick?
No, ma'am.
No.
Do you know anyone that goes by the name SB?
No, ma'am.
Do you know anyone that goes by the name Yak Gotti?
No, ma'am.
Do you know a Jeffrey Williams?
No, ma'am.
Do you know anyone that goes by Young Thug personally?
No, ma'am.
He probably does not
Safe
even
to
know
say
you
you've never had
professionally.
any transactions with either of those people?
That's that again?
Have you ever had any transactions with either of those?
No, ma'am.
people? All right. Thank you so much, sir. That's all I have.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that was quick,
Any
efficient.
questions for this witness? Mr. Weinstein, okay.
All right, so Obviously, Weinstein is learning how to cross because this was very good. This was efficient. This was good cross examination.
Good morning, Mr. Norton.
Morning.
My name's Doug Weinstein. I represent Diamante Kendrick, who's sitting right over there.
Okay.
Just a couple of
He's
questions.
like,
You said
okay.
that when you had this firearm, it did not have a switch on it, correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't know who modified it to put that switch on there, do you?
No, sir.
You don't know if my client, Mr. Kendrick, has ever been in possession of this gun, do you?
No, sir.
Okay. You don't know if he's ever fired this gun, do you?
No, sir.
No.
All right. No further questions. Thank you.
That was good.
Redirect.
The redirect was good too.
Just briefly, you were not at a person by the name of Jeffrey Glee's house on May 9th, 2022, were you?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
I thought that was good as well.
All right, thank you for your time. You may step down, call your next witness. You're excused. Thank you.
Then Whitaker has vacation plans or something.
Melissa Sinstan.
He's flying through all these witnesses. All right, so the next witness was Dr. Melissa Smith Stanley. I'm going to skip through her case in chief. We're going to go straight to cross. Basically, what she testified to was the manner, or she performed the autopsy on Shamel Drinks, and then the manner of death was classified as a homicide. So let's see if we can find the cross examination on this one, because I thought that was well done. I hope I'm not going too fast. I'm going too fast. Let's see. All right, there we go. Okay, I think this is
That nature would be immediately lost.
Yes, conscious movement would have been immediately lost. Yes.
Okay, and we're not talking about within a minute, we're talking about immediate because of the severance of the
I think I went too far.
Yes, for the purposes of a medical examiner, if the actions of another individual cause or contribute to the death, then the manner is classified as a homicide.
All right. Okay, we're starting with cross.
God, I have nothing further this time.
All right, are there questions? Okay.
Doctor, good morning. My name is Max Shardt. I represent Shannon Stillwell, okay?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Stillwell is seated right over here. So I want to ask you about this concept of stippling and pseudo stippling first, okay? Now, you're not saying that stippling is involved in this case, you're saying pseudo stippling.
Yes.
Which could have been caused by the projectile fragmenting and the low pieces embedding in or affecting Mr. Drinks' skin, or low pieces of the intermediate object, perhaps a window or something like that.
Or door, yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm not talking about the pseudo stippling that you found in this case. I'm just talking in general. When we're talking about stippling, I just want to clarify something. Stippling, you're saying, is caused by burns around a gunshot wound when it's a close and range shot.
Right.
Yes. When one says stippling, it typically means gunpowder stippling, but yes, that's correct.
Okay, and you're saying gunpowder stippling, and that's just what I want to clarify. The stippling is caused by gunpowder soot that is ejected out the barrel of the gun and would affect the skin of the unfortunate decedent, correct?
Yes.
And this is what I like about Shardt's approach, right? He still maintains respect for the deceased. That's actually something I'm going to steal from him. But he still maintains respect for the deceased. And Shardt generally comes off as a likable guy. Whereas for Love, and not just Love by herself, but in this case, Love and Steele were insufferable to me. I could not, no. They obviously they were zealously representing their individual clients, but I don't think either of those were likable, and the approach was not very effective for somebody that's neutral, especially a member of the jury. That's not, or a member of the jury. And I don't remember how far back it goes, but Whitaker warned the both of them. Um, if you're a layperson, even if you're a little kid and you're watching it, it might be entertaining, especially if you consider Steele's antics. But from the perspective of a fact finder or even an attorney, they're not, it was not an effective approach. Whereas Shardt, he's very likable, and that's because of these, I wouldn't say necessarily deliberate tactics, but the manner in which he carries himself makes him likable, and that makes you listen to him more.
Gunpowder stippling represents the burning and unburned grains of gunpowder, which exit the barrel and can impact on the skin in a close-range gunshot wound.
Okay, and I know you're not an expert in gunshot residue testing or anything like that, but I just want to clarify. These are two different concepts, correct?
Right.
That's correct.
Gunpowder stippling, and then gunshot residue testing, where you would test an area or a specific object for the presence of gunshot residue. Those are two separate concepts, both involving gunshot residue.
Well, the determination of gunpowder stippling at autopsy, yes, is done by the medical examiner.
Right,
Yes.
okay. Now, in this case, as I understand, there were two gunshot wounds that you observed.
Yes,
Okay. One to the arm, to the forearm, and one to the neck.
yes, that's correct.
Okay. The lethal wound was the wound to the neck.
That's correct.
Okay. And as the medical examiner, you do not know what order those two.
And this is what I mean by Shardt being an effective cross-examiner. He asks relevant questions. In this, the order in which Shamel was wounded, that plays a significant role, especially when it comes to, I mean, they're not disputing that he is deceased. But what I'm anticipating is that there's going to be some type of testimony as to who fired what and in what order.
Shots.
When I say what, it's obvious it's firearm.
That is correct. I do not know
Okay,
the
so
order.
Mr. Drinks could have been shot in the arm first or in the neck first.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay. And I want to talk specifically about the lethal wound to the neck. Okay. You talked and used medical terms, and it sounds like there was massive injury to the base of the brain, among other things.
The skull and the brain, yes, sir.
Okay. And you testified, to my understanding, that the ability to consciously control one's body would be immediately lost.
That's correct.
Okay. Death may not be immediate, but the ability to move body parts, to open a door, to move your feet up and down,
Right, this guy's
things
good.
of that nature would be immediately lost.
Yes, conscious movement would have been immediately lost. Yes.
Okay, and we're not talking about within a minute, we're talking about immediate because of the severance of the, because the base of the
Because
brain
of
was
the
severed.
massive damage to the skull and the brain, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay. And I thought the redirect on this one was good as well.
Very great. Dr. Stanley, if after receiving a gunshot wound to the neck, as Mr. Drinks did, and prior to being shot, he had his foot compressed on the brake, is it possible, or is it consistent with the fact, would his foot remain on the brake? Is that possible?
After sustaining the gunshot wound to the neck?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
possible.
I thought this was good.
Now,
Redirect.
you said earlier that the direction of travel was upward. Can you explain to the jury, was it upward to the left, upward to the right? Can you explain that?
Yes, again, this direction is simply from the time that the bullet enters the body. It went towards his head, which is upward, and towards his left, upward and to the left.
And I want to ask you one last question. When someone is shot, would you expect to find gunshot residue
I
on
thought
that
this
person?
was good. This was a good question as well.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, this was brilliant. All right, and then Shardt is gonna recross, and he did a brilliant job as well.
Doctor, Mr. Abadi just asked, after being shot in the neck in the way that Mr. Drinks was, unfortunately, whether it's possible.
And this is what I'm talking about. He remains respectful at all times. He makes it clear to the jury that this was a tragedy. He does not disrespect the decedent in any way, but he also zealously advocates for his client. This guy, I'm going to keep saying this. I'm going to keep saying this. Shardt is the best defense attorney in this entire case.
That one's foot could remain on a break if it was already there. And you said that's possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is not possible, you would agree it's not possible after suffering that wound that someone would be actively moving their feet up and down off the brake. That would not be possible, would it?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Bravo.
All right, thank you for your time, and you are excused.
You know, in this case, there's also not this case, but this specific homicide. There's a fight about the brake lights, and I'd like to assume that the defense has hired an expert. I'm just assuming based on the questions that he's asking, because those would be, he's basically tailoring his questions, not just based on his theory of the case, but it has a lot to do with possible evidence that they're going to present.
Yes, how long is your next witness?
All right, and then there was a 20-minute break. Hopefully I can get there. I don't want to go too fast. All right, there was a 20-minute break. Let's see.
There's some difficulties with parking outside. Is it possible?
Yeah, because there's a gas leak at the corner of MLK and Piedmont.
Can we just have Tim and he's getting out of his car at Fort Walton.
Do you have another witness?
Then Whitaker has vacation plans. She's about to get out of there. All right, I believe this was Harshita Davis. I think that's how you say her name. Let's see. Yeah, this is Harshita Davis.
Market. I've been here for just over 5.
Let's see. And Harshita Davis, she works for Enterprise. She has a very fancy title. Didn't get the chance to write it down. But the bulk of her testimony, let's see, what time is it? Okay. I'd like to be done in about an hour. So we're going to speed through her testimony. But she is employed by Enterprise. They basically show that, or they have surveillance video. They have some still shots that Shannon Stillwell, he rented a vehicle from Enterprise, a Maryland tag. We saw that from yesterday. I know I did not, I was not on stream yesterday, but I did actually watch court yesterday. I just did not, hopefully I'll do it this weekend. I think that's a good way to catch up. In any event, so Shannon rented a vehicle from Enterprise, or at least their Atlanta airport location. If I'm not mistaken, I did not write this date down, but I believe that was on March 14. And then he called to extend the rental. It's a good thing he did that because he avoided an auto theft. I wouldn't say a claim, but an accusation, right? Because they would have sent out looking for that car. And then, based on her testimony, there were significant changes made to the rental. They, what is it called? My brain. They, oh no, they made significant changes. The windshield and the windows, they didn't wrap it. That's not the right term, but they darkened the window. I don't know why is the word not coming to me. In any event, I'll remember this. It will come to me probably in 10 minutes or so. But they made significant changes to the vehicle. They extended this vehicle. They were in possession of this vehicle within the period when Shamel Drinks was, you know, I don't want to say the word. They have surveillance footage. The vehicle was recovered from the police, so Shannon never returned the vehicle back to Enterprise. It was recovered from the police. Um, while I was watching this, though, right? While I was watching the testimony, I hope I did not miss this. At least as it relates to this vehicle, my main question was, where is the black box? Um, because I mean, they do have surveillance footage around Atlanta, and then they have the license plate readers and things of that nature. But for the prosecution to strengthen their case, that could have possibly assisted them. And then, or maybe they're going to get there. But then again, Hilton did say this case, the state is most likely going to rest next week or maybe another week after that. And let's see. Let's see, it's going to be probably 25 minutes after she got on the stand. That's when Shardt is going to cross her. So let's see. And I thought his cross was good, but we're going to wait for him to ask his questions. And then there's also, or at least during the testimony, it came out that the reservation was made through, was it Priceline? I believe it was Priceline. And Shannon's information was verified, showing, confirming his identity. Let's get to cross. All right. Okay. So this is the vehicle.
On the
Nice car.
vehicle when it was rented.
We do not tint our vehicles.
Really nice car.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as Exhibit 176 VV. I'm going to show you 184 VV and 180 VV. Do those pictures also show a similar level of tint on the vehicle?
Right, it's tint. That's the word.
Yeah.
I said wrap. That's not, in any event. But I mean, the witnesses that have no interest in the outcome of this case have been effective in their presentation. It's really the folks that, the state struck deals with. Those are the folks that, and that's the thing. I know I was not streaming at the time, but I am surprised that the state thought that prior co-defendants would get on the stand and they would just spill. Like, no, that was not. It's not that it's unheard of, because obviously we've seen that in the case out of Memphis. What is the rapper's name? I forgot. Dolph, young Dolph. We saw the state's witness, or the turned state's witness in that case, basically just get on the stand and, say everything, and that was it. but that is uncommon. I used to be a prosecutor, and then after that, I was a public defender. So to expect an individual, especially somebody, I mean, they say YSL is not a gang. We still do not know if it's a gang or not. But somebody who is affiliated with these folks would not get on that stand and just, especially not a trial like this that is being televised. No. In any event, let's move on. We're trying to find Shardt
And
Cross.
Mr.
I mean, but based on what we just reviewed,
What is contained in 179 VV?
All right, we'll leave it here.
so this is the dash of the vehicle, and this is just a typical picture that we take whenever we're taking pictures of a damaged vehicle. We would take the standard
Run
picture of the
empty.
odometer.
All right. And as I wrap up, going back to State's Exhibit 186 VV.
Come on, we are ready for Shardt to cross. Come on, Hilton.
The driver's license information that's contained on this document, would that have been the driver's license information of Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
It would have been the information of Mr. Jackson as the renter of the vehicle.
Okay. And then my last question, when we looked at the tinting on the vehicle, were all of the windows significantly tinted?
Oh, no, I can't remember.
I don't have the pictures right in front of me, but based on what we just reviewed and what I've looked at, yes.
The exhibits.
Yes.
Court indulgence.
It appears that all of the windows are tinted.
Court indulgence for one.
We're done. We are ready for the star.
No further questions. Questions to this witness?
All right.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Ms. Davis, good morning still. My name is Max Shardt. I represent Shannon Stillwell, okay? All right. And let me just, Shannon Stillwell is also known as Shannon Jackson. Okay, so Shannon Jackson, I may say Stillwell, Jackson Stillwell, same person, okay?
Okay.
All right.
And I mean, over and over again, Shardt has shown me that he is a brilliant attorney, but him making it clear to this witness that Jackson and Stillwell are the same or is the same person, I thought that was pretty fair because he's a better person than I am, because I would have preferred to confuse this witness by just using a different last name. But yeah, let's get in.
Ms. Knight, would you do me a favor and just put up 189 VV? Thank you. Ms. Davis, if I ask you any questions about specifics, I'm going to have this picture published, but just let me know if you need to refer to any of the other documents in front of you,
Okay.
such as the rental contract, et cetera, okay? All right, so as I understand, Mr. Jackson, or I'm going to say Mr. Stillwell. Mr. Stillwell came in to rent a car on March 14th at approximately 3 p.m. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was that car, do you know if that car was already booked online, or if he just, with his friend, arrived at the counter to rent this car?
Based on the information from the rental agreement, it appears that there is a reservation attached to the rental.
When was that car reserved?
She doesn't know.
I do not have that information.
Okay, so we don't know when the online reservation was made. All right.
No.
Okay, so Mr. Stillwell shows up with this, do you know this lady's name?
I do not.
Niet.
So he shows up with this lady and to pick up his car that he booked online, correct?
It appears that way.
Okay. He came into the Alamo rental desk where there's surveillance videos himself. He didn't send someone else to come pick up the car, did he?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so the rest of, or at least the next few questions that Shardt is going to ask will basically be to show the fact finder that Shannon had nothing to hide. And that's why he went up there with, I mean, not everybody thinks about surveillance, okay? But basically, he's trying to show that he showed up as himself, he had his ID, and there's a possibility he was going to be under surveillance, even though people don't think about surveillance, basically showing that he had nothing to hide.
Okay. He provided his name, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I know certain things were redacted. He provided a address from his license.
Correct.
He
And
provided.
that's, okay, last remark before, and I'm going to play again. If you go back in time to compare Shardt's cross-examination style to other attorneys, even if we have to compare it to Weinstein, Shardt is effective because for the most part, he asks questions that he knows answers to, and the witness answers in the manner that he wants, or a manner that assists his client. Whereas I cannot remember which witness it was, but I just remember there was a time there was a witness on the stand, and the types of questions that Weinstein asked the witness were just, I want to say it was Woody, or was it after Woody? I don't know. But Shardt, great cross
A
examiner.
telephone number.
Correct.
He provided his license.
Right.
Correct.
He paid using a credit card, correct?
He had a Priceline reservation, so he would have had a credit card on file, but likely it was prepaid through Priceline.
Okay, so he had a credit card on file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all that information was presented and known by Alamo when he came to pick up this car that he reserved at some other time earlier, correct?
Correct.
All right. And he signed the rental agreement.
Right. Signed his
Correct?
name.
Correct.
In his real name.
Correct.
Right.
All right.
Nothing to hide.
So then, and that was, he picks up the car on March 14th at approximately 3 p.m. And then on March 16th,
calls for an extension.
He recorded the records, and I know you were not on the phone personally, right?
Correct.
All right, but you're the custodian of records. According to the records, he calls on March 16th at 1:37 p.m. and wants to extend the rental on this white Audi, correct?
He did call. I might have to refer to the document to confirm the time. Yes, at 1:36 p.m.
Okay. Now, we'll talk about the tint. Ms. Knight, could you put up a picture of the car with the tint?
All right.
Okay.
Okay, we have about
When you
50 minutes, and then I need to prepare.
Received this car back from the police on March 20th, right? 2022?
Right.
Was it March 20th you received the car back?
I don't know the
Sometime
exact
in
date
March.
it arrived on our lot. March 20th is the estimated return date of the rental, but the vehicle wasn't returned
through the normal return me.
Fair enough. Don't worry about the date. When you received this car back from
Mm-hmm.
the police, right?
Yes,
Okay, it had tint on it.
yes.
Okay. And tint was a violation of the rental agreement, wasn't it? Applying tint to the car.
Man, Shardt is brilliant. Shardt is brilliant. This part, the rest from here on, I actually did not watch because I had a staff meeting that I had to be in. But he's brilliant. So here he's trying to show that Shannon has gone out of his way to comply with every aspect of this rental agreement. And because he has been so diligent and honest, I mean, they cannot use the word honest because that would just open a can of worms. But in any event, he is the stand-up guy. And because he has a history of being a stand-up guy, he could not have, man, this guy is brilliant. He could not have done or put a tint on these windows on this car because that would be a violation. And that's not like him.
We do not allow folks to
Man, this
alter the vehicle.
Mr. Stillwell violated assuming he applied the tint to the car, he violated the rental agreement, didn't he?
Yes.
Okay. Did you charge him with any crimes?
Violating a rental agreement, I did not charge him with any crimes.
Right. Okay. It was just a rental agreement, right?
Correct.
Okay. Are you aware that prior to renting a car from you, 2 separate attempts had been made on Mr. Stillwell's life?
Objection, Your Honor.
It's in evidence.
Objection, what's your objection?
Were you aware when you came to testify that 2 different attempts had made upon Mr. Stillwell's life?
I was not aware.
Were you aware that one of those attempts on his life was made when he was in a car?
I was not aware.
Okay.
You should not know that.
Ms. Knight, if you could please display 172 VV first.
All right, come on.
Okay, I just want to be clear on this.
And to me, it's really the presentation of evidence that excites me. I have no dog in this fight, but I like to see legal brilliance, and that's why
Actually, maybe I'm sorry, Ms. Knight, maybe 173 would be better. Okay, the purpose of this picture is to show.
I'm an attorney too, so that's why I watch trials.
And we're going to get to the headliner in a second, but when you received the car back, the sunroof, is it moonroof, sunroof?
Mm-hmm.
Whichever one it is.
Yes.
Okay.
How much is it to
had
tint
been
windows?
damaged somehow before you got the car back.
Yes.
A lot of expense.
Okay, and you don't personally know if that was damage done by Mr. Stillwell or done by the police when they were manipulating the car. That's fair to say.
Correct.
Okay, and the purpose of this photo is just to document the damage to the glass in the sunroof.
Correct.
Okay, and I just want to be clear what we're talking about. These other supplies, those are just supplies that were in the Alamo business, wherever this was, a storage facility, and not anything more than that.
Correct.
Okay, cool, thank you. And if you could just put 183.
All right, come on, folks.
And again, this is the condition you got this car back from the police, correct?
Correct.
And you're familiar with the term headline?
Correct.
Okay. And the headliner had been removed, correct?
Correct.
What are they doing?
Okay. I have one brief moment.
All right.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you.
Bravo.
I'm gonna show you part of what's been admitted as they the 170 BV.
Presto.
Tell me if you recognize 170 BV.
I do.
It was 170 BV.
It's the invoice that we received when we had to pick up the vehicle from the police and have it towed back to our facility.
And what is the date on that document?
March 24th.
And would that be when the vehicle would have been returned back to Alamo?
Yes.
Mr. Shardt asked you a series of questions regarding potential attempts on Mr. Jackson's life. Do you know if he has rented any other vehicles between 2015 and 2022?
I'm not aware.
Okay, we would not know that.
Sitting here today, do you have any idea why a renter would put substantial tint on a vehicle that they were just renting initially
not
for
know
2
that.
days?
Oh, she's asking if she knows. So if you know, then you
She
can
would not
answer.
know that.
Let me repeat it.
Please don't speculate.
I have my, I mean, a renter would,
Sustain.
Must
Sounds
say
like she does
speculate.
not know.
yeah.
All right. Think I have no further questions.
All right.
Any recross?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead.
During the course of your time with Enterprise, how many cars have you had that may have had their headliner removed?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Recross? All right. Thank you for your time. You are excused.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Do we have another witness that won't take us more
Man.
than 30 or 40 minutes?
Whitaker's ready for vacation. She has plans for Thanksgiving. She's not trying to stick around in court
I mean, 40
longer than
minutes?
necessary.
Okay, call your next witness.
All right, so this witness will be a surprise to me.
Okay.
Who you got? Who you got? I'll say the judge kind of looks like she's been getting enough sleep or naps lately. Not as stressed out.
Your Honor, can we approach before we begin on this witness?
Yeah,
Right.
do you want me to have the
Hang on.
witness step back out, or does it matter? Sorry, thank you.
What's going on? That was pretty quick. All right. Let's fast forward. All right, let's fast forward. Does he work? No, that's not him. Let's see, who's this? Oh, what? Okay.
Raise your hand. You swear first testimony to give the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Absolutely.
All right, come on.
State, spell your first last name for the court to bring down into the mic.
I'm Tyler Bateson. Tyler Bateson.
Okay, law enforcement.
Good morning still, Mr.
Morning.
Bateson. How are
Morning.
you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I see you have on a shirt with markings. Where are you currently working?
Forsyth County Sheriff's Office.
All right. How long have you been with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office?
Approximately 7 years.
All right.
Do you carry a service weapon or firearms in your position with the Forsyth
Yes.
County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your position with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office?
I currently work patrol, uniform patrol division.
Now, are you a gun owner outside of your work with Forsyth County?
Honestly, I hope that these questions that Love is asking are relevant. I'm sure I'm sure he was called for a specific purpose, but I hope they stick to, something that actually adds value to this case.
Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
And how long have you been a gun owner?
Probably since I was 18.
Since you were
All right.
18?
Yeah. I'm currently
If I
29.
ask you how old you are now?
29.
All right. And how
That's a
long
long
have you
time.
been with the Sheriff's Office?
Approximately 7 years.
All right. What types of firearms have you owned during your time with the Sheriff's Office?
Like assigned to me from the sheriff's office, or just owned in general?
Owned in general.
All kinds, bolt action rifles, semi-automatic rifles, semi-automatic pistols, all kinds of weapons.
And have you ever traded firearms or sold firearms that you owned
Yes.
privately?
Yes, many times.
All right.
Where typically do you sell those firearms?
Where are we going with this?
We sell them locally in Georgia, if party to party. We just show
You sell
concealed
one
carry
of these
permit
people a
typically,
firearm?
and sell firearms
Of the
privately.
defendants?
Usually I use a website. One of the common ones I use is called the Outdoors Trader.
Outdoors Trader?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you ever trade or sell your service weapons?
No. No.
You only
Okay.
sell the ones that you personally own?
I think I
Correct.
see where we're going with this.
Do you keep a record of the firearms that you personally own?
No, not really. If I have them, I will. Once I get rid of them, I don't really.
Okay.
All right, come on, love.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit
I
229
think I know
Victor
where this
Victor.
is going. Why? I don't know. I'm looking at the time. Why does it say 8:57 a.m. Eastern time? I'm pretty sure this must have been closer to noon. But in any
That
event,
has been provided, but I'll let the defense see what it is that I'm walking up to you with.
well, I guess I do actually have a clock that I can reference. That's not accurate though. All right, come on, love. I have 30 minutes, 37.
If there's a part that is. Can I speak to the defense briefly? Is there a part that you want out?
No, this stuff's supposed to be done before we get the witness on the
Right.
stand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vertica's
So,
ready.
Your Honor, I think that a part of it was attached that should not have been attached.
Okay.
And I don't think that there's anything beyond this page that there's an objection to, is there?
And I should be very careful.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 229, Victor.
All right. I think I know where this is going.
And
Let's
asking
see.
you if you recognize 229 Victor. Do you recognize what that document is?
Yes, I filled out multiple of these before.
And that particular one, is that one that you filled out personally?
Yes.
Would you look at it and tell us if that is a fair and accurate representation of the document that you filled out?
Yes.
Yes.
Your Honor, the state tenders State's Exhibit 229 Victor as evidence.
It's admitted.
Would you tell the jury what 229 Victor is?
Yes, this is a form that you fill out when you're purchasing a firearm from a dealer.
All right.
Basically, they fill out your personal information, some questions
Yeah,
to
this
qualify
is
you to
exactly where we're going.
own a firearm, and then they do a background check right there, and then they can transfer you the firearm. So it's a transaction record.
And that transaction record, does it have on it the type of firearm it is that you're purchasing?
Yes, it does, and it has the serial number as well.
And were you the purchaser of that firearm?
Yes.
All right. What type of firearm is that a transaction record for?
This one is for a Glock 45.
Hmm.
The model is 45. It's a 9mm.
Glock 45 9mm?
Correct.
And what is the serial number on that weapon?
I hope Love is not going to start walking around.
BPHW105, Bravo Papa Hotel Whiskey 105.
Are you familiar with whether or not the serial number on a firearm barrel typically matches the serial number on
The slide.
this? Yes.
Yes. Yes, it does.
And when you purchased that firearm, did you check to see if the serial number on the barrel matched the serial number on the slide?
Yes, and it was brand new from the factory as well. So it would been how it came from the factory. So.
Okay. I'm going to now approach you with what has already been admitted as State's Exhibit 51XX Alpha, which has been made safe. Would you take a look at State's Exhibit 51?
Yeah, I figured.
X Alpha.
I figured this is where we're
And
heading.
tell me if you recognize any part of that firearm.
Well, most of it, I can't see the serial number on the barrel because of how it's fashioned right now. But the serial number on the slide matches the one on the form. I do not recognize this part on the back of it.
Now, you're holding it in your hand and you pointed to the serial number on the slide.
Correct.
Would you hold it up for the jury and just point to the area where that serial number is? And what serial number are you reading off the slide?
It's BPHW105.
On a fast forward,
When
on a
you
fast
say you
forward to
recognize the
cross,
serial
because
number on the
that's
slide,
typically the most pertinent part,
you
at least
don't
for me.
recognize the serial number on you can't see the serial number on the back.
Correct.
All right. And you also said you didn't recognize a portion of the gun that was on the back.
Yes.
Which part?
This extension coming off the back. That's not factory. I believe that's a bang switch. I've never actually seen one in real life until now, but I believe I know what that is. So
is it safe to say it wasn't on there when you purchased it?
Oh yes, it's just not there.
Do you remember how long ago it was when you purchased that firearm?
Well, can I reference the form?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this was 2020. It says.
All right. Question is, what did you do with your firearm?
You purchased it in 2020?
Yes, 7/25/2020.
All right. And did you purchase it for personal use?
Yes.
I'm going to swing back around to the serial number that you read off when you were reading the transaction agreement. You said BPHW105, and then you said Bravo Hotel Whiskey 105.
Bravo Papa Hotel Whiskey 105. BPHW105.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever sell that gun to anyone?
Yes.
Who did you sell it to?
A gentleman named Phil off the Trader.
That's
He's another popular member on the Trader. He has a lot of positive feedback. And so I met with him, I believe it was March 9th of 2022.
What's his name? They better have him testify.
And when you sold it, was it in the same condition that it was when you first bought it?
No, it was, it had actually, I believe it had night sights on it. This one has the factory sights. So it had different sights on it, or maybe it came in the box. I know I sold it with extra sights and 3 magazines when I sold it. Okay. So I can't remember exactly if it was. I didn't change any internal parts, just the sights, if anything.
Irrelevant.
Is there any way for you to? You said you couldn't see the. I'm going to take this. You could not see the serial number.
Love, use some gloves.
Yeah,
I don't understand why Love. She's not the only one that has done this. Even Sarah Boone's defense attorney got her to put gloves on, even though she didn't use gloves the first time when she, did whatever it is she did. I don't understand why they're handling evidence in this manner.
From how it's positioned right now.
Okay.
Actually, there should be something on the bottom too. See? Yeah, that serial number is also the same. BPHW105.
Wear gloves.
Now, if that serial number on the barrel is different than the serial number on the slide, would that be a barrel that was sold with the gun at the time that you bought it?
No.
No.
All right. And would that be a barrel that you sold to Mr. Norton or Phil?
The serial number would have matched the slide.
Oh, got it. So here's the one that sold. He had this. Okay, so I understand. So this must be the witness that had trouble with parking. They wanted, now the order is reversed. Here's the one that sold the firearm to Phil, and Phil has no idea what happened to the firearm. Got it.
When I sold it, because I did not change any internal parts on this on the firearm.
Okay.
Yeah. But at least now we know that I did not write his name down. We know that this witness and Phil did not make any changes to the firearm. I guess we're going to end up somewhere. We're going to have, or at least they're going to have to call another witness.
Just one moment.
Not necessarily if they're not going to call the witness or anybody. I don't think they're going to call somebody on the stand that will actually admit to modifying the firearm because that's illegal. But the state would have to call some type of expert at least to show how modification could have occurred, because the other witness that they called, let me go back to my notes here. The witness that they previously called, he worked for the Fulton County DA's office as an investigator. He testified after Sarah went home. I never took his name down, but his testimony, or at least the substance of that testimony, let me see. What are my notes saying here? The substance of his testimony was that one trigger pull could result in 6 rounds being fired instantly. It was not, or at least repetitively, without having to pull the trigger again. That did not, I don't know. I just feel like there's a gap somewhere here. And maybe there are a lot of gaps.
And when you said Phil, do you know whether the last name of the person to whom you sold the gun was Norton?
I'm assuming it's Norton because his handle on there is Norton Concealment from the Outdoor Trader, and he addressed himself as Phil.
Okay.
I glanced at as a concealed carry permit, but I can't remember exactly what it was. So I'm assuming it was Norton.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. I think that's all that I have for now.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Questions from the defense for this witness?
No questions, we have still. Some questions.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll leave this up unless you want to do that.
You can do anything you want to with that.
She's trying to be so friendly, and they're like, I don't care.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get your rank.
Deputy First Class.
Okay. Okay, Deputy Bateson. I'm Doug Weinstein. I represent Diamante Kendrick.
Okay.
I just have a few questions.
All right. Okay. Well, I did not listen to this cross beforehand, okay? And Weinstein is not a very effective cross-examiner. This time around, he does not have a Shardt to lead and for him to copy. So I just hope he asks relevant questions that actually help his client.
As you looked at that weapon, you see that it's been modified with a blank is it? Switch on the back. Yes, correct?
Yes.
And you say you did not modify that weapon, correct?
No.
Okay.
Other than the sights, I may have changed the sights at some point. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. It's been 2 years. So.
Right. You don't know who modified that weapon, correct?
No.
You don't know that if my client, Mr. Kendrick, modified that weapon.
Oh, I don't know who possessed it after I sold it, other than Phil. But that's no.
You have no knowledge that Mr. Kendrick ever possessed that weapon, correct?
I don't know.
And you have no knowledge of that Mr. Kendrick may have ever fired that weapon, correct?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
All right, Weinstein is learning. Kudos. Okay. So obviously, this witness knows nothing about these two defendants, okay? The prosecution basically called him to testify as to the state in which this fire or the state the firearm was in at the time that he sold it. He's done his job. He can move on. But the questions that Weinstein asked, they may seem pretty simple, but the manner in which he, let me not say the questions are simple. The answers may seem obvious, right? But this clarifies it for the jury, because it's one thing for the jury to think that the answers are simple, but it's another for them to actually hear those responses.
All right, redirect.
Just briefly. Do you even know Mr. Kendrick? Do you know
Okay.
Kendrick?
So yeah, that's obvious redirect, but that's good.
I do not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you have any way to know whether he fired?
Why are you yelling? Like, why are you yelling, love? Is it because he said you could do whatever it is you wanted to do with a gun? Why are you yelling?
That weapon?
No,
And do you know Shannon Stillwell?
no,
And were you anywhere near the home of Jeffrey Williams on May 9th, 2022?
no.
Thank you.
All right. So what I noticed, at least today, the earlier part when I was watching the trial, and I think this was the case yesterday and on Monday as well. Jeffrey Williams' name came up a lot, which is good for the defendants because it makes it appear as if I would, at least my perception at the beginning of this trial is that Jeff is actually who they really wanted, right? But these two guys, they're stuck with the more serious charges. I think that's who they actually really wanted. But because Jeffrey is no longer a part of this trial, I don't want to say that he's more of a scapegoat, but it creates a good distraction for the defendants that are still on trial.
That's all.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have any reason to believe that Shannon Stillwell was
I like him.
anywhere near the home of Jeffrey Williams the day
I
it was
like-
raided?
Man,
I don't know anybody,
Do
so
you
I
have
don't
any-
know.
Right.
I sold a gun. That's pretty much my involvement. I don't know anything.
I
else, so.
appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for your time, and you are excused.
What
And
if
we'll
ready
take
to
our
go
lunch
vacation?
break now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
They dragged him to
Let's be back
get
at
plans.
1:15, please.
All right. So I guess it's going to be an hour or so. We're just gonna fast forward. Fast forward. Okay. I don't want to go too far. Okay. Let's go over there. Let's go over there. But good cross examination really it excites me. It fires me up. And it's not just cross examination, even direct on in the if any of you followed the Melody Ferris trial, there were two moments in that trial that were actually really brilliant. I write this stuff down. I don't always get time to record videos, but hopefully at least around Thanksgiving, I should have a moment to give my thoughts on that case. But the prosecutor, I forgot his name. I believe it began with a letter F or something along those lines. But he
Question
had
that
a brilliant
any of the attorneys
moment during
believe they want to ask.
the case in chief.
Do y'all know that now, or do you just want to? Yeah, I will
What's going
plan
on?
to be the one making the queries, and then I'll ask everybody if they've got any questions. And if you do at that point, you can let me know. Okay.
And the way that this is, no, it's actually the same courtroom. Because I keep up with, or at least about a month ago, I started watching Judge McBurney, I believe that's his name. And I was just following a trial out there. It was Michael Reynolds, State of Georgia v. Michael Reynolds. He was convicted. He was convicted today. Awful. The circumstances, the facts of the case, awful, tragedy, devastating. The victim was an 18-month-old little girl. So yeah, but in any event, what I was going to comment is the manner in which they run the courtrooms. But then again, it's different just because this case has more defendants. I mean, now it's only two. But what I was going to say is at least the judges in the YSL trial did not ask the jurors if they had any questions for the witnesses, if they needed clarification on anything, whereas Judge McBurney actually does that for all his trials.
All right, we need juror number 387 out, please.
What's going on? I missed this. What's going on? Is this the same guy from yesterday that wanted to be taken off?
What?
Now I have to stay for this.
It can be
We have 20 minutes.
audio recorded, but not filmed. I mean, you can't film the juror.
Right.
You can film the rest of us if you want to.
What are you thinking, cameraman?
I think you stand even if it's just one juror.
All right, come on. Let's hear what's going
If
on.
you could just grab a seat. I got a couple of questions. So I know that earlier this week, your employer reached out to you and inquired whether
What, some of these folks still had jobs? Oh my goodness.
this this trial that you're on was over. And eventually just said,
I thought they had a bunch of folks that had retired or something.
okay, just send me the next juror excuse note. And I have been in contact with the employer to find out exactly what got said. And so she shared with me y'all's text chain about that. And essentially she says, she just asks, are you still on jury duty? And you say yes. And you ask if everything's okay. And she says, yes, your teammate came in asking which trial you were a juror for, and that a specific trial was over. And your response was, everybody and their mama keeps saying that. So what we would like to find out is what anybody might have communicated to you. And I know sometimes you cannot help if people just come up and blurt something out, and hopefully to say, I can't talk about the trial, but what has anybody communicated to you about? And
come up with all types of
that we
excuses
started with 6 and we now have 2, and I instructed you, don't worry about the reasons for, but has anybody communicated anything to you? And if so, what?
More so the decrease of the defense.
Okay.
That's been most of the communication where people assume I wasn't here this week.
Okay. All right. And let me ask you one more thing. And then she, after you say that, she says, well, that's the reason I'm reaching out. And you said he was one of 6 who are finishing the trial. Who do you mean by he?
The communication when I got it was more so specific to say who wasn't here anymore and why they assumed the case was
over. Oh my goodness. And that's the thing. This trial has been going on for so long. If I assumed that these people were unemployed, if you are still employed and you're on jury duty for this long, it kind of gets obvious. I don't even know how these people are able to, or at least the members of the jury are able to avoid the media. And
who would you have gotten that communication from?
The teammate called. The teammate that made it to
her. Okay.
To specify what she meant. I didn't call her, she called me.
Okay. And what did she communicate to you? Just that.
I
Okay.
guess the next
And
RICO
did she say
trial was
anything other than
Lieutenant
Williams
Williams
isn't a
next
part of the
trial.
trial anymore?
No.
Okay.
I'm assuming him not being in the trial.
The trial is over with. Okay. And do you recall the instruction I gave you on Monday, you and the rest of the jury on Monday morning, to essentially not speculate about any
Right.
reasons why, and
Right.
that shouldn't have any impact on your verdict or your deliberations?
This case, if these two defendants are convicted, I do not doubt that any convictions are going to be overturned. So much has been going on. A lot of, oh my goodness.
Staff was just trying to figure out how we were supposed to address it.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, you haven't done anything wrong. We just have to figure out, because
Yet, or at least if nothing has come to light yet, but that does not necessarily mean that everybody complied with the court's instructions.
obviously y'all are supposed
And
to
how do
only
you do that in a case of
consider
this
the
magnitude?
case based on the evidence and the information you get from here in the courtroom. So just want to make sure that you are able to, I know this communication came after my instruction, so are you still able to follow that instruction?
Yes.
Okay, great, perfect. I'll excuse you back to the jury room.
She must hate her job. I hate to say that, but I'd rather be at work
We'll
than
have all of y'all out in
trial
just
has
a
been
sec.
going on for too long. They cannot look away. I can look away sometimes.
Okay, anything
Wow.
anybody wants to put on the record after that?
Your Honor, given that she
Love your talking to the
didn't
court. You need to stand
indicate,
up.
as the court said it was looking to hear, I don't suppose so.
No.
Yes.
Mr. Shardt?
We have to still, we're fine and ready to continue forward.
Okay, and Mr. Weinstein?
No
Weinstein, you need to get up too.
Great, then let's get the state's next witness and.
Okay, so I have no real concerns about this witness and the employer situation, but I do have remarks about, I do have concerns, not really concerns, that's not the right word. I have some thoughts about the juror from, I think that was Monday or was that Tuesday? The one that requested to be taken off the trial because of the length of the trial and the state's presentation of the trial. That's a good witness for the defendants to keep. Okay. That's a good witness. He signaled, but then again, if he's the type that wants to get a case just over and done with during jury deliberations, because this case is going to take some time to deliberate. This is not going to be a day or two type of deliberation. But if he's the type that just wants to get things over with, then he probably could be influenced, even if he wanted to, even if he wanted to, not necessarily that he wants to hold out, but if he was convinced that the state has not proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt, and everybody else on that jury panel is of the opinion that the state has, he would probably concede to get it over and done with. But overall, he appears to be a good juror for the defendants to have on the panel.
We'll get the jury out.
All right. All right. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, so
And I can't remember if it was detective or investigator.
all right, so I watched part of, I don't know which part of this I watched, because at the time I saw this witness on the stand, it must have been around 3 p.m. Eastern time. So it's probably, guess this might not be it.
Okay, you've been with us before, so I'll just remind you, you're still under oath, and you can go ahead and have a seat.
From what I recall about this witness, at least the a portion that I watched, I think this witness was saying that he was speculating, if I'm not mistaken, which is not. No bueno.
Detective Hogan, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
How are you this afternoon?
I'm great, thank you.
All right. I want to direct your attention to March 14th, 2022. Did you have the occasion to respond to the 400 block of Windsor Street Southwest, the intersection of Windsor Street and Interstate 20, Atlanta, Georgia?
I did, yes, ma'am.
And is that location in Fulton County?
It is.
Why did you respond to that location?
I'm a homicide investigator. There was a,
Well, I guess we have the ATF in here, so I don't know. Everybody say hi to ATF.
homicide that occurred in that intersection, and I was assigned to be the lead investigator for that.
Okay.
What time did you respond to that location?
I think I got the call around 10:30 at night.
10:30.
And then I arrived sometime after that.
Once you responded to the location, what, if anything, did you find?
Oh, well, I was told that the incident occurred at the intersection of I-20 or underneath the bridge or close to the bridge, I-20 on Windsor Street. I came in off of Fulton Street, I believe, and came in and saw there was a large area surrounding the intersection that was surrounded by a crime scene tape. I pulled up.
Can I just hear objection?
I was informed by one of my coworkers who was already on scene that the person that had discovered the car and the body was still on scene. And also I checked in with the person that was keeping track of the crime scene log, and I chose to talk with the person that discovered the body first. So I approached him first and interviewed him.
Yeah, I forgot his
I'm going
name.
to show you what's already been admitted as 65
He was from
VV.
Florida.
Okay.
I'm going to also show you 67 VV. Is that the area in which you responded?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Now, you said you spoke with a witness on the scene. Do you remember that witness's name?
It's Mr. Cheeseborough, I believe his name.
That's it. All right, so we're gonna fast forward here because I just want to. Oh, but this is the good stuff. We want to fast forward. I don't know. This is the good stuff. Do we want to fast forward? Okay, no, we're not gonna fast forward because this is the meat and the potatoes. So we're not gonna fast forward. I should have marked down when he started testifying. So I am going to end the stream right here. I'll be back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern time. What I'm going to do is when I get to the office, I'm going to watch I'm going to watch the detective's testimony, and then I'll have a recap. So I have to do this before the actual trial resumes tomorrow. And thank you for watching, 9 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, and I will be back. Okie dokie.